the same experience that I have. Is when I fail, I learn, I grow from it. Everyone should have that opportunity.
Have you made a commitment to hiring people with felonies on their record at your companies, or not asking people about their criminal records when hiring?
So obviously when I became sensitized to this issue, I wanted to figure out what else I could do to help them. Well, the Reform Alliance is 100% focused on changing the probation and parole laws in each state one by one and by educating people overall. I actually, if there was a second thing I would want us to do, and this would be years away at the Reform Alliance, it would be reentry work, because I think there's hundreds of thousands of people that come out of prison and jail each year, and the economy needs them to be valuable members of the workforce, yet it doesn't work well enough. So I actually went to one of my companies, Rue La La and Guilt Group, and I said, I want you to start hiring people immediately. And I said this a few months ago, and we actually just hired our first 20 people about a month ago, and I've heard great reports. They're some of our best associates. People are happy that they're there. They're working really well. They're producing really well. So I think, as somebody who, has roughly 10,000 employees today between their businesses, I think it's a great opportunity where I can make a difference. It's got nothing to do with the Reform Alliance, but it's something where I feel like I can make a difference. And here's the great thing. These associates are making a great difference to our company. They're becoming valuable associates of our business. Because I believe in, if I say this all the time, if I only got a second chance, I'd be dead. I'm on like my 10,000th chance, okay? I fail all the time. I screw shit up all the time. I'm like 10 cats in one person with the amount of lives I have. So, that's what makes this country great. You gotta, screw up, learn, and grow from it, and that's why we need to give so many other people opportunities as well.
So this is a rare bipartisan issue. You're getting support from a lot of different places. Meek, I'd love to know why you think so many people understand this issue on the left and the right, and understand that criminal justice reform and probation reform is important.
I just think the seasoning, you got social media. We have more resources to get information. I don't know if people see, like yesterday, it was a guy, he'd been going all over social media, supposed to be innocent. And you actually can just click a link and research and find out, because it's mental. You hear someone's in prison, that guy been in prison for 23 years. The first thing in your mind you would think is he probably belonged in prison, because they had him in prison 23 years long. And if you take a link and click on a link and research that information, it might be something that common sense. The investigators say it's impossible for this man to commit this crime. Why is this man in prison for 23 years? And if you actually attach yourself and dig deeper and understand certain situations, most of it is common sense. I always told Mike, I always said, let's go back and just find data on how many people are going to prison a day for not even committing crime. Let's just start there. And my judgment.
It's a quarter. There's 750,000 people that go to prison per year. And a quarter of them are going for technical violations. That means they did not commit a crime. None of those people should be going to prison, or 99%.
Yeah, and when we say technical violation, it could be missing an appointment with your probation officer, crossing the state line.
Jaywalking?
Yeah, jaywalking. Police contact, and police contact doesn't mean you're actually arrested and had handcuffs on. Police contact, pulled over by the police without calling your probation. You could be sent to prison for all these things, and it's common sense. I think people in this room, if you have younger kids, you have an 18-year-old kid, he got in a school fight and was put on probation for 5 years, and 4 years went by, he smoked marijuana and got sent to prison for 3 years. They just reset him back further than when he first entered the system, you know what I'm saying? And that's what happened to me.
And that story you just told, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Somebody do something pretty minor, they test positive for smoking marijuana before you know they're in prison. It makes no sense.
And you might make it through 99% of your probation term. One mistake can set you back, like you said. You might make 10,000 mistakes. Me, I'm not an angel. I actually was on probation my whole adult life, from 19 to 32 years old. These are the years where I would make most of my mistakes. And I made it through just from drive. Like, as far as business and any artist, you got took out of the music industry 2 or 3 times, probably about a total of 2 years. I was still able to keep pressing forward and forward and forward. And on I think my 9th year in the game, I got on in this game, I think 2011. I was blessed to have a platform to use reform, and I took my platform and used it. and Michael, everyone, Jay-Z, the rest of the team joined with us, and I committed to pushing forward and making change along the way.
What does it do to you mentally, though, when you feel like, you know, your career is flourishing? Again, I said you were responsible for other people's livelihoods, and still you're not allowed to cross state lines.
Yeah, you almost gotta like drive yourself crazy. I heard someone say this the other day. You gotta be like almost drive yourself crazy to even be in there. You gotta think you're doing well in life, and you go to court tomorrow, and then next thing you know, you locked in a cell 24 hours in the mountains, 5 hours away from your family. You know, it'll take a toll on you, and going to court and not knowing you could lose your freedom. That's how we got here today, doing things like this.
I'm going to go back to the bipartisanship, though. I mean, steering the Reform Alliance at this time in this country, you know, through all of these partisan waters, is it difficult, or is it pretty easy to get people from different backgrounds on board?
I got to tell you, I think it's actually pretty easy once you educate people. I think the issue is most people are like me. They're not like Meek. They believe that the system is working well, and it took me getting firsthand educated, but we've now educated tens of millions of people. Think about the Free Meek documentary that Amazon made that millions or tens of millions of people watched, and that educated people about the problems with the criminal justice system. I think what I find is anytime people don't understand the issue, they're just like, lock them up. Once you explain the issue to them, most people are pretty good human beings. They have good values. They care. I mean, look, there's still some racism in the country, and you know, it's less today than it was before. But you know, I think I can tell you, anytime I feel like I talk with someone about this issue, I feel like they get it and they want to help. So we've got in Pennsylvania today, like I got to tell you something. I'm proud of all the Republicans and Democrats that have come together in Pennsylvania that said this is a real issue. We don't like the problems that we've seen, and we want to fix it. We're going to take Pennsylvania from being one of the worst states in the country to making it a state that works normally and logically. And by the way, if you don't care about ruining people's lives, you're also wasting tons of money with what's happening today. Think about this guy I just told you about who couldn't pay $1,900 in fines, and we're spending $50,000 a year to keep him in prison, and we're ruining the guy's life. So we want to get these people back to work. So I think when you explain to people, even if they don't have a heart, which most people do, then you explain to them the economic benefits of, like, you know, from a business perspective, it makes no sense. Don't want to spend this money on educating people, on helping people, not on putting people in prisons for no reason. So I think it's one that is pretty easy to get people up to speed on, but most people start like I started. They don't have a clue, and they need to get educated.
Meek, would you meet with the president who has shown interest in criminal justice reform? Would you meet with him to educate him on this issue?
Yeah, I think I would meet with anybody to educate them at the right time, and I don't have any picks. It's like in Pennsylvania, you got Democrats and me, I don't know, and politicians meeting bipartisan and coming together in rooms. I've been in rooms with people who never sat down at the same table to talk about reform. The people in prison who I actually was behind the wall with, they always say, I always be like, they wanted me to come and do this or speak at this. They always say, if we need somebody to speak, we would want someone that been on the side of the wall with us, that understand what we go through, to speak with us. I'm not into politics. I'm not into that world at all. I don't know anything about it for me to be up here speaking about it. But for me to bring an issue, to sit on the stage, if anybody was sitting in this front row, I would bring the same story to them and make them aware of what's going on in America.
I want to talk about the intersection between athletes and activism and music, because this is a powerful coalition that's been coming together in recent years. And Michael, as a co-owner of the 76ers, I'm curious, when you decided to really get active in Meek's case, was there any conversation that you had with your fellow owners, with Adam Silver, about, you know, you getting involved in it and implicitly the 76ers sort of being involved in this cause?
Yeah, so let me start with saying, I think what's a little bit different here is because Meek and I were such good friends, I didn't like approach this from thinking about anything other than I just watched one of my really close friends get taken away in handcuffs